Joining us now, man that needs no introduction, Congressman from the 5th District of Virginia, Republican Robert Hurt. Congressman, great to have you, sir.
Thanks, John, for having me on your program.
Always a
enjoy
pleasure.
it.
Thank you, sir. Speech tomorrow night, President Obama, what do you look for?
Well, listen, I mean, I think the first thing that's got to be said is that so much of what we're seeing overseas now is a consequence of a failed foreign policy approach in coming out of this administration. And I think it's important to point out because I think it means that we have greater challenges in figuring out how to go forward from here. Listen, I want to be able to support this president and his approach going forward. I want to hear exactly what his assessment of the threat is with ISIL. I want to hear his concrete plan for dealing with that, and I also want to hear from him what does victory look like, and those are very hard questions. But he's got a tremendous resource in our Defense Department and our State Department, intelligence community, and he needs to be able to provide those answers. That's what he got elected to do, and that's what we expect him to do. So, I will look forward to hearing from him in an open mind. With an open mind, I do think it's extremely important for him to consult with Congress, and frankly, in terms of a long-term strategy, and he needs to go through Congress if we're going to commit our resources in a long-term way. Obviously, the War Powers Act allows for him the flexibility he needs to be able to defend his country on a moment's notice, but from a long-term policy perspective, he needs to go through Congress. That's what we got elected for, and that's what the American people deserve.
The War Powers Act that is making its way through the Senate, co-sponsored in a nonpartisan way by Senator John McCain and Virginia Senator Tim Kaine. Are you open to that?
Absolutely. I think I've long admired or appreciated certainly Senator Kaine's approach on this. I think he's exactly right. I think again, no one wants to in any way diminish the president's ability to defend this country on a moment's notice, but at the same time, we need to get back to the idea that these sorts of life and death decisions that are made affecting our troops, so many of them in your area, affecting our troops and their families, there needs to be some accountability along the way, and that's how you impose that accountability. I think if you have accountability, you get better decisions because people know that once they cast that vote, they have to live with it, and they should never cast a vote that they're not willing to live with and be able to defend. And for those of us in Congress who have to, from time to time, talk with the families and justify those decisions because someone was killed in action.
Yes.
By goodness, we need to understand up front what we're asking our men and women in uniform to do.
Congressman, we've had a couple veterans on our show that really know what they're talking about in the past several days, who said, look, if you're going to confront ISIS, this isn't like the Bosnia situation. This isn't like Serbia where we can just do targeted strikes and bombing. We're going to have to commit troops on the ground. Are you open to that?
Well, I think we should never take anything off the table when it comes to defending this country. And there's no question that putting troops on the ground ought to always be our last option, but it has to be on the table. Mm-hmm. Again, I think that is the president's task, mm-hmm. is taking what he is able to put together based on the Defense Department, intelligence, and diplomatic input, and be able to make a proposal. That's a decision. That's a proposal that he should make, but I think we have to approach it with great caution. But also at the same time recognize just what I think apparently some of the folks on your program have said, and that is you can degrade these folks to a limit with airstrikes, but at the end of the day, if you want to control the region in a meaningful way, you have to have people on the ground, and if that's the case, then we have to take a hard look at that. And again, we have to determine what the risks are for our men and women on the ground, and put that up against what are our national security interests here and abroad.
Congressman Hurt, I'm going to play a clip from President George W. Bush in 2007. I want to get your reaction, outlining what he thought would happen if we withdrew all troops from Iraq. Prophetic words or not?
Absolutely, and I think again, if you look at where we are, it's because we have had leadership that has said we need to get out of there as fast as possible, and that's what's best for the country. And now we see that our world is more unstable. The Middle East is more unstable, and that's a direct threat to us in the United States. And anyone who questions that. Anyone who questions that direct threat to the United States is only to remember September 11th, 2001. I mean, that's when it came home, and we have men and women in uniform and an intelligence community who work every single day to make sure that we never have another September 11th. And when we don't have the ability to thwart those who eat, sleep, and breathe, destroying this country, we're at risk, and everything that we stand for is at risk.
The irony, in my view, and you know how I stand on this, I thought that George W. Bush was wrong on getting in the war, but right on not getting out, as catch-22 that may sound, but I think that's basically. I
think that you speak for a lot of people, and I wasn't in Congress when those decisions were made initially. I'm not, it's hard to go back and second guess.
It really is
those, but the bottom line is once we're in, we need to get the job done, and the idea of playing this game where we put down deadlines and forecast withdrawals and those sorts of things. I mean, it hasn't worked out very well.
I don't think it has. I just can't for the life of me understand why President Obama continues to want to get on TV and telegraph our next moves to the enemy. It's got to be only for political reasons, because militarily or strategically or from the world stage, sir, it makes no sense to me at all. You got on here months ago and were one of the most adamant congressmen we had against getting involved in the Syrian conflict. You were right, because now we have advisors telling us that maybe the thing we need to do is to ally with Assad, of all people, in stopping ISIS. So on that front, you were 100% right. Now, what do you think of the possibility of engaging President Assad in the battle against ISIS?
I think, again, with your earlier question about whether or not this requires boots on the ground, I hope it does not, but we certainly have to be prepared to do what we need to do to defend the interests of this country. I think, again, here again, we have to look at the most effective way at defeating these ISIL and what it stands for. And, wouldn't it... It's not really ironic. It's just a fact of life. These are the alliances with Syria and Iran. The bottom line is you have to know what you're doing when you're dealing with these folks, and right. You have to think about the long game. And some of the decisions I think that have been made in the past haven't fully appreciated the extremely complex dynamic, and the fact that at the end of the day, these the bitter warfare and the mass murdering that's taking place now, that's rooted in centuries, thousands of years of differences that we can't fix.
Right.
And so what we have to do is always look out for our American interests and the interests of our allies, and figure out the best strategy for doing that with as little loss to our country and to our troops as possible.
Congressman, we had the opportunity to talk to Senator McCain the other day, and he said that he was really concerned about the Ukrainian situation and Vladimir Putin. And one of the statements he made to me, he said, President George W. Bush said he looked into Putin's eyes and he saw a soul. He said, I look into Putin's eyes and I see three things, KGB. What do you think?
No, I think that there is a whole lot. I think we have to be very careful dealing with him, and I think that what he's doing in Ukraine is unlawful, to be sure. And I think that I think we have to be. I think we also have to be careful in not to make comparisons with this. In this instance, with other things that we've seen in history, I think we have to be careful in the comparisons we make. But I would say that there's clearly unlawful. Clearly, he again is feeling confident in his ability to get away with these things because again of American, our administration projecting American weakness as opposed to American strength. And we've lost so much of our non-military options. Those things have just been taken off the table, diplomacy and otherwise, because again of our withdrawal and frankly the fact that our allies don't trust us. We say we're going to do one thing and then we do something different. You don't have to do that more than once before your allies are just realize that you're not a reliable partner, and those partnerships are important, and that's, I feel like, a large part of why we are where we are.
Congressman Hurt, speaking of trust, in what some, like me, think is a very cynical move, President Obama for months said that he was going to expand amnesty with a phone and a pen, basically by executive fiat. A lot of pressure put on him, and now he's concerned that he's going to lose the Senate. So now he says, well, I'm going to make that decision after the midterms. I mean, that really struck me as a very cynical move. Like, let's go ahead, take it off the table, get through the midterms, and then I'm not going to be accountable to anybody for anything, and then I'll do whatever I want. Does that strike you as just over the top, or is it just me?
No, I think it's remarkable, and I think that clearly he's making decisions based on the politics. Look, the House of Representatives put forward an immigration bill that contained the things that the ingredients for a immigration reform that's extremely important, that focuses on two things, the two things that the American people, I think, care about. Number one is border enforcement. We have got to secure our borders, and if you look across at what's going on in the Middle East, you can see how important it is. I mean, September 11th, again, is a reminder of what happens when our borders are not secure and we do not know who is here, and we don't know who is here, regardless of what the president said 6 months ago when he assured the American people that the borders were secure. They're not secure. We had tens of thousands of people coming over a month in a month span, coming across our border with no idea who they were and who they are as they continue to do that. We need to take action, and we put forward a bill, and the Senate has done nothing. The president's indicated he's not interested, and it's pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic, and it jeopardizes the safety of this country. We have stepped up to the plate. We've put forward again something that ought to work, and this president says unless you give all these folks that are here unlawfully, came here illegally, know they're not supposed to be here, unless you give them amnesty, then we're not going to do anything on the border. It's reckless. It's irresponsible, and I think the American people see it.
Reckless and irresponsible, no doubt. I hope you keep fighting for what's right. We have to secure our sovereignty to the South. Everybody that's been down there, Congressman, has been on my show over and over and over again. There's absolutely no security whatsoever, and I think it's a real risk. We're out of time. I want to thank Congressman Robert Hurt for being with us.